Over 100 million Americans currently have fat suffocating their liver right now, yet 90% of them have absolutely no idea. Your standard annual blood panel usually comes back completely normal until your liver is already over 30% marbled with toxic visceral triglycerides. Today, we are breaking down the 5 silent warning signs of fatty liver disease and the exact cellular mechanism to reverse it completely. Take Sarah, a 42-year-old teacher with a healthy body mass index who felt exhausted every single afternoon, assuming it was just aging. If you want the real, evidence-based science behind metabolism and longevity without the medical jargon, subscribe to the channel right now. Let's get right into it, starting with why your doctor routinely misses this metabolic time bomb during your regular 15-minute physical exam. Routine liver enzymes like ALT only spike into dangerous territory once liver cells actually burst open and spill their internal contents into your bloodstream. Most commercial lab reference ranges label an ALT under 40 as normal, but real metabolic damage begins churning silently once that number surpasses 20. This brings us to warning sign number 1, a crushing wave of brain fog and physical exhaustion right after eating a carbohydrate-heavy meal. Think of your liver as a central metabolic shipping hub that suddenly gets jammed by too many incoming glucose and liquid fructose shipments simultaneously. When overwhelmed, liver hepatocytes flip an emergency switch called de novo lipogenesis, rapidly converting excess blood sugar directly into microscopic droplets of stored fat. That intense manufacturing process burns through massive amounts of cellular ATP, robbing your brain and muscles of the vital energy they desperately need. That exact ATP drain is why Sarah needed 2 cups of afternoon coffee just to stay awake through her final school period every day. Warning sign number 2 is a dull, lingering heaviness or aching pressure located right underneath the right side of your rib cage after dinner. Your actual liver tissue possesses 0 pain receptors, so you will never feel the fat droplets slowly multiplying inside those individual organ cells. Instead, that physical discomfort happens because the swelling organ pushes outward against Glisson's capsule, a highly sensitive nerve-rich membrane wrapped around the liver. Warning sign number 3 shows up directly on your skin as dark, velvety patches around your neck, or clusters of tiny flesh-coloured skin tags. When fatty liver blocks normal glucose disposal, your pancreas compensates by pumping out 5 to 10 times more insulin to force sugar into cells. That hyperinsulinemia acts like high-octane fertilizer for skin receptors, causing epidermal keratinocytes to rapidly multiply into dark folds and raised fibrous tags. Many people dismiss these skin changes because they weigh a normal amount, completely misunderstanding the deadly difference between subcutaneous and visceral belly fat. Subcutaneous fat sits harmlessly beneath your skin like a padded blanket, while visceral fat wraps aggressively around your internal organs and secretes inflammatory toxins. Sarah weighed only 135 pounds, but her waist-to-height ratio revealed hidden ectopic fat storage spilling directly into her liver tissue. That spillover triggers warning sign number 4 on your standard lipid panel, fasting triglycerides climbing over 150 alongside abnormally low HDL cholesterol. To relieve internal pressure, a fat-clogged liver begins rapidly assembling and launching dense VLDL particles into your bloodstream to dump those trapped triglycerides somewhere else. Physicians often prescribe cholesterol medications for this specific lipid pattern without realizing that the root factory producing those rogue particles is an overburdened liver. Warning sign number 5 strikes in the middle of the night, consistently waking up wide awake and restless right around 2 or 3 a.m. During sleep, a healthy liver releases steady glucose to feed your brain, but a fatty liver runs out of clean glycogen reserves prematurely, sensing dropping blood sugar. Your adrenal glands fire an emergency surge of cortisol and adrenaline into your bloodstream, jolting you awake out of deep sleep. This metabolic dysfunction drives over $100 billion in annual US healthcare costs, heavily fueled by liquid fructose in everyday grocery store items. While every cell in your human body can safely metabolize glucose, nearly 100% of ingested fructose must be processed entirely by your liver. Why do standard blood tests miss this? Your routine LT and liver enzyme labs often appear completely normal even when fat clogs a quarter of your cells. Here is the mechanism. Your hepatocytes expand like overfilled water balloons without bursting, keeping those liver enzymes trapped inside instead of leaking into your bloodstream. That brings us to missed warning sign number 1, visceral fat creeping outward, specifically the stubborn hard belly that feels firm rather than soft. Unlike soft fat beneath your skin, visceral liver fat packs tightly behind the abdominal wall, physically pushing your internal organs outward like an overinflated inner tube. If your waist-to-height ratio crosses 0.5, your liver is already drowning in overflow triglycerides, even if your BMI registers as technically healthy. This leads to warning sign number 2, a crushing post-lunch energy crash right around 2 p.m. that feels like wading through thick, wet concrete. When your fatty liver becomes insulin resistant, it loses the ability to shut off internal glucose production after meals, creating a chaotic double surge. Your pancreas fires emergency insulin, plunging your blood sugar into a steep valley while your brain starves for steady cellular fuel right at mid-afternoon. Missed warning sign number 3 appears right on your skin, acanthosis nigricans, which are dark, velvety patches on your neck, often mistaken for poor hygiene. High circulating insulin forces skin cells to multiply furiously, thickening the outer epidermal layer and locking in dark melanin pigment, where skin folds rub together. Closely linked to those dark velvety patches are tiny skin tags, which are small fleshy columns popping up across your neck, eyelids, and collarbone. Each tiny skin tag acts like a localized growth siren, proving your congested liver is failing to clear excess insulin growth factors from systemic circulation. That metabolic overflow triggers warning sign number 4, elevated fasting triglycerides combined with suspiciously low HDL cholesterol on your standard routine blood lipid panel. Think of your liver as a busy shipping depot. When overloaded with sugar, it pumps out triglycerides via VLDL particles like overcrowded delivery trucks. If your triglyceride to HDL ratio jumps above 3 to 1, your liver has officially shifted from a clean metabolic filter into a chronic fat factory. Warning sign number 5 is subtle right upper quadrant discomfort. Not sharp pain, but a heavy, dull ache lingering beneath your lower right rib cage. The liver tissue itself has no pain receptors, but its protective outer coating, called Glisson's capsule, stretches taut over swelling cells like tight shrink wrap. When that stretched capsule presses against your diaphragm during deep breathing or right after a heavy meal, it sends vague pressure sensations radiating upward. That same diaphragm pressure connects directly to warning sign number 6, unexplained nighttime awakenings, specifically snapping awake between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m. every night. During deep sleep, your liver performs critical glycogen processing and detoxification, but lipid accumulation spikes localized oxidative stress during this essential overnight repair window. This nocturnal liver stress triggers a sudden emergency cortisol surge to maintain blood sugar stability, jolting your brain wide awake out of deep restorative sleep. Which introduces warning sign number 7, persistent morning brain fog that requires 3 or 4 cups of strong coffee just to feel moderately functional. A congested liver struggles to filter microscopic amounts of gut-derived ammonia and inflammatory cytokines, allowing those compounds to cross straight through your blood-brain barrier. Those cytokines disrupt neurotransmitter signaling inside your prefrontal cortex, making mental focus feel like driving through thick winter fog with broken windshield wipers. Warning sign number 8 manifests inside your digestive tract as chronic bloating and poor tolerance for dietary fats, often misdiagnosed as simple irritable bowel syndrome. Your liver synthesizes bile acids to digest fat, but lipid congestion impairs bile secretion, leaving fat breakdown incomplete inside your upper small intestine. Without adequate bile salts to emulsify dietary lipids, unabsorbed fats ferment further down your intestinal tract, causing gas, abdominal pressure, and floating greasy stools. Warning sign number 9 is subtle spider angiomas, tiny red web-like blood vessels appearing on your cheeks, upper chest, or across your shoulder blades. A healthy liver rapidly deactivates excess circulating estrogen, but early sluggishness allows estrogen levels to rise, dilating tiny arterioles right beneath the skin surface. If you spot 3 or more of these subtle physical clues together, your metabolic alarm is ringing loud before irreversible stage 2 fibrosis begins. But the earliest physical alarms of a fatty liver don't start in your abdomen at all.
They show up directly on your skin years before blood tests shift. Check the folds of your neck right now for a dark, velvety discoloration known medically as acanthosis nigricans, which most people mistake for dirt. This isn't a hygiene issue. It occurs because chronically spiked insulin binds to insulin-like growth factor receptors in skin cells, forcing them to rapidly multiply and darken.
Another ignored skin flag is sudden clusters of small skin tags around your collarbone or eyelids, indicating prolonged hyperinsulinemia driving abnormal tissue growth across your body. You might also spot tiny spider angiomas on your chest or unexplained red palms, which happen when a congested liver loses its ability to clear circulating estrogens. When hepatites fill with lipid droplets, cellular filtration slows down, leaving hormonal byproducts to pool in peripheral blood vessels and dilate skin capillaries. Beyond your skin, the next missed warning sign hits your daily energy levels, specifically that crushing exhaustion that overwhelms you 45 minutes after eating a standard meal. Your liver acts as your body's primary metabolic battery, but when visceral fat packs inside liver cells, glycogen storage capacity gets severely throttled. Instead of absorbing incoming glucose efficiently after lunch, your fatty liver rejects the fuel, leaving your blood sugar to spike high and then violently crash. This cellular gridlock triggers what many call postprandial brain fog, where your brain feels wrapped in thick cotton while your eyelids feel like lid weights. Then comes the nocturnal alarm clock, waking up wide awake for absolutely no reason precisely between 3 and 4 in the morning every single night. During deep sleep, your liver must run gluconeogenesis to maintain steady blood sugar, but steatotic hepatocytes struggle to produce glucose when you fast overnight. To prevent nocturnal hypoglycemia, your brain panics and dumps emergency cortisol and adrenaline into your bloodstream, jolting you awake with a racing heart around 3 a.m. That hidden metabolic stress also explains systemic inflammation, as fat-stuffed immune cells called Kupffer cells continuously leak inflammatory cytokines directly into your circulation. These circulating cytokines cross your blood-brain barrier, disrupting neurotransmitter synthesis and creating the persistent low-level depression many patients experience before ever getting diagnosed. Now let's examine the physical abdominal signals, starting with the myth that fatty liver disease is entirely painless and produces 0 sensations in your torso. While liver tissue lacks pain nerves, the fibrous membrane enclosing it, called Glisson's capsule, is heavily wired with sensitive stretch receptors. As excess fat swells the organ by 20 or 30%, that outer sheath stretches taut, creating a dull aching fullness beneath your lower right ribs. You might also notice unexplained digestive distress right after high-fat meals, including uncomfortable bloating, nausea, or pale, floating stools that stick to the bowl. This happens because steatosis impairs bile acid synthesis, reducing emulsification of dietary fats and letting lipids pass undigested straight through your GI tract. But here is where the diagnostic trap gets dangerous. Over 50% of patients with advanced liver fat have completely normal ALT and AST liver enzyme labs. Standard ALT panels only spike during acute liver cell death, so stable intracellular lipid droplets can quietly suffocate your liver for decades without tripping normal lab thresholds, instead of relying solely on basic liver enzymes. Look closely at your lipid panel for high triglycerides combined with low HDL cholesterol and elevated fasting insulin. That exact blood profile reveals active de novo lipogenesis, the biochemical process where your liver converts circulating sugar directly into saturated palmitic acid inside your cells. And the absolute biggest driver of de novo lipogenesis isn't dietary fat. It is liquid fructose pouring in from sweetened sodas, juices, and processed foods. Unlike glucose, which every cell in your body can burn for fuel, almost every gram of ingested fructose gets dumped straight into your liver for processing. Fructose bypasses normal cellular energy checkpoints like phosphofructokinase, forcing hepatocytes to rapidly manufacture fat even when your body's energy stores are completely full. Worse yet, rapidly metabolizing fructose burns through cellular ATP supplies and generates massive amounts of intracellular uric acid right inside liver mitochondria. That internal uric acid spike causes mitochondrial oxidative stress and shuts down nitric oxide production, trapping your hepatocytes in permanent fat accumulation mode. Once trapped in that metabolic loop, losing visceral fat requires breaking the hepatic insulin block, which brings us to the specific biological switch that clears liver fat. Most patients assume a clean annual checkup guarantees a healthy liver, but standard routine blood work actually misses metabolic liver disease over 80% of the time. Why? Because standard reference ranges for liver enzymes like ALT were established decades ago, using populations already suffering from early undiagnosed insulin resistance. So when your lab report flags an ALT of 38 as normal, your hepatocyte cells could already be packed with toxic lipid droplets. To catch this early, doctors look beyond enzymes to subtle dermatological red flags that appear years before abdominal pain ever begins. Look closely at the back of your neck or armpits for acanthosis nigricans, which looks like a dark, velvety smudge you cannot scrub away. That pigmentation is driven by hyperinsulinemia, where chronic circulating insulin spills over and stimulates skin keratinocyte receptors to rapidly multiply. Another often ignored surface sign is the sudden eruption of multiple benign skin tags around your collar area and upper eyelids. These fleshy growths act like external metabolic biomarkers, signaling that high insulin is currently forcing inappropriate tissue growth throughout your bloodstream. Moving from your skin to your energy levels, the post-meal crash known as postprandial somnolence points straight to hepatic fat overload. When your liver is congested with triglycerides, it struggles to store incoming glucose as glycogen, causing severe blood sugar spikes and devastating subsequent crashes. This glycogen storage failure also explains why people with fatty liver frequently wake up between 2 and 4 in the morning. During deep sleep, your brain demands steady glucose from hepatic reserves, but a fat-logged liver drops the ball and triggers an emergency cortisol spike. That midnight adrenaline jolt jolts your nervous system awake, right when nocturnal organ repair mechanisms should be firing at full capacity. Beyond sleep disruption, pay attention to subtle right shoulder blade tension, or mild dull aching beneath your lower right rib cage. Because liver tissue itself lacks sensory nerve endings, you only feel discomfort when swelling stretches the surrounding fibrous capsule known as Glisson's capsule. That distended capsule pushes against the diaphragm and stimulates the phrenic nerve, which refers nerve pain straight upward into your right shoulder. Now let us examine a vascular warning sign on the chest or cheeks, tiny red vascular networks called spider angiomas. These pinprick blood vessels dilate because a fatty liver fails to properly metabolize and clear circulating estrogen hormone from your bloodstream. When excess estrogen lingers uncleared, it causes peripheral arterioles to relax and permanently expand right beneath the surface of your skin. Even more surprising is the connection between liver congestion and chronic brain fog, which patients often mistake for normal aging. Your liver is the primary filtration plant that detoxifies metabolic waste products like ammonia produced daily by your intestinal microbiome. When lipids clog those hepatic filter pathways, low-grade toxic ammonia sneaks past the liver barrier and crosses directly into brain tissue. Once inside the central nervous system, microdoses of ammonia slow down neurotransmitter signaling, leaving you feeling chronically unfocused and mentally sluggish. To confirm what these external signs suggest without spending thousands of dollars on scans, calculate your triglyceride to HDL ratio. Simply divide your fasting blood triglycerides by your HDL cholesterol from any basic $20 lipid panel to reveal your true risk. A mathematical ratio above 3 indicates dense LDL particles and severe hepatic fat buildup long before your liver enzymes ever flag abnormal. Another hidden blood marker is serum uric acid, which directly tracks the rate at which your liver converts fructose into triglycerides. When hepatic fructose metabolism goes into overdrive, cellular ATP energy rapidly depletes and generates uric acid as a toxic molecular byproduct. That elevated uric acid then shuts off endothelial nitric oxide within liver blood vessels, starving hepatic cells of essential oxygen. This oxygen-starved state accelerates collagen deposition, pushing your liver from reversible simple steatosis right into permanent dangerous scar tissue called fibrosis. To clear that visceral liver fat, cutting dietary fat is a clinical mistake. Liquid fructose drives de novo lipogenesis, forcing hepatocytes to manufacture triglycerides directly from sugar. Unlike glucose, fructose completely bypasses your cellular energy checkpoints. It pours straight into the liver like an unrestricted fire hose, triggering massive fat deposition within hours. That 12-ounce soda or organic agave syrup initiates 5 times more hepatic lipid storage than the exact same carbohydrate load from complex starches. Even so-called healthy fruit smoothies packing 50 grams of liquid sugar lock your liver in intensive fat storing mode for up to 12 consecutive hours post-consumption. Once those triglycerides form inside liver cells, they need an exit strategy. That brings us to choline, the biochemical taxi driver responsible for exporting hepatic fat. Without adequate choline, your liver cannot assemble VLDL export particles. Newly synthesized fat gets trapped inside the hepatocyte, swelling the cell like an overfilled water balloon. By demonizing egg yolks and organ meats over decades, the standard American diet created a silent, widespread choline deficit in nearly 90% of US adults. Consuming 450 to 600 milligrams of bioavailable choline daily restores your VLDL export system, actively draining trapped lipid droplets directly out of stagnant liver tissue. Yet exporting fat is only half the battle when intestinal permeability leaks bacterial endotoxins directly into your portal vein, straight to the liver. When resident liver macrophages called Kupffer cells detect this bacterial lipopolysaccharide, they unleash inflammatory cytokines that convert benign fatty liver into destructive scarring NASH. Common food emulsifiers and synthetic additives strip away your protective gut mucin layer, multiplying endotoxin portal influx and immediately halting liver fat oxidation. Sealing that leaky barrier with spore-forming probiotics and fermented polyphenols drops circulating lipopolysaccharide levels, slashing hepatic inflammatory markers by up to 40% in clinical trials. Simultaneously, we must activate hepatic autophagy, your liver's internal cellular incinerator that actively dismantles and burns up internal cytoplasmic lipid droplets before fibrosis takes root. Grazing on snacks every 2 hours keeps circulating insulin perpetually elevated, completely suppressing AMPK enzyme activity and shutting down this vital cellular cleanup mechanism. It takes roughly 14 hours of fasting for glycogen depletion to signal hepatocyte nuclei to switch from lipid accumulation to active cellular fat burning. By compressing your daily eating window to 8 hours, you allow intrahepatic fat reserves to drop by nearly 20% over 6 weeks without cutting calories. Another hidden lever is bile acid conjugation, where amino acids like glycine and taurine bind toxic cholesterol and flush it through your biliary drainage system. Sluggish bile flow creates a toxic feedback loop, signaling liver cell genetic pathways to upregulate lipid synthesis while impairing your digestion of essential fat-soluble nutrients. Eating bitter compounds like dandelion root and organic arugula right before meals stimulates vigorous gallbladder contractions, clearing stagnant biliary sludge out of hepatic ducts. To prevent cellular membrane destruction during this detox process, your hepatocytes require specialized fat-soluble antioxidants that stop lipid peroxidation chain reactions dead in their tracks. Standard synthetic vitamin E often fails here, but bioavailable tocotrienols deeply penetrate hepatocyte cell membranes to neutralize free radicals and halt liver fibrosis progression. Pairing that with 2 grams of high EPA omega-3 fatty acids daily directly downregulates SREBP1C, the master genetic switch commanding your liver to manufacture triglycerides. Now look beyond the liver. Your skeletal muscle tissue acts as a massive glucose sink that dictates whether excess carbohydrates end up stored as visceral fat. Performing resistance training just 3 times weekly clears intramuscular fat and dramatically drops fasting insulin, cutting off the primary fuel pipeline for hepatic lipogenesis. Even moderate alcohol consumption derails this recovery. Just 2 casual drinks a week monopolize liver enzyme processing capacity and freeze fat oxidation for 72 hours. Because ethanol demands the exact same NAD+ coenzymes required for mitochondrial fatty acid breakdown, your liver must abandon fat disposal to detoxify the alcohol first. To verify true metabolic recovery without expensive biopsies, look past normal ALT laboratory results and check your fasting triglyceride to HDL blood cholesterol ratio instead. If that simple $10 lab ratio exceeds 2.5, your hepatocytes remain overloaded with stagnant lipid droplets regardless of what standard liver panels claim. When that ratio drops below 1.5 within 60 days, mitochondrial beta-oxidation is actively clearing liver fat and cellular flexibility is finally being restored, yet clearing trapped liver fat is only step 1. Maintaining this metabolic clean slate requires stabilizing your circadian cortisol rhythm to prevent overnight hepatic gluconeogenesis. The liver's capacity for rapid regeneration is truly astonishing once you stop feeding de novo lipogenesis. Hepatic fat drops noticeably within just 14 days of eliminating liquid fructose. To track this internal cleanup without expensive scans, monitor your fasting insulin and triglycerides closely. A triglyceride to HDL ratio under 2 confirms trapped liver lipids are clearing out. Next, you must optimize bile flow to flush out those mobilized triglycerides. Taurine and glycine act like biological dish soap, emulsifying dense liver fat for safe intestinal excretion. You must also seal your gut barrier because intestinal permeability lets bacterial endotoxins flood the portal vein. This constant inflammatory shower directly stalls your hepatocyte cellular repair mechanisms. Taking targeted soluble fiber like psyllium husk daily traps all bile acids inside your digestive tract. Your liver is then forced to burn internal cholesterol to synthesize more. Be extremely vigilant with common over-the-counter pain relievers during recovery. Standard doses of acetaminophen can rapidly deplete glutathione, the exact master antioxidant your liver requires to heal. Instead, boost intracellular glutathione naturally by eating fresh broccoli sprouts every single day. Their abundant sulforaphane activates the NRF2 pathway, your body's most powerful cellular defense and detox switch. Pair that daily sulforaphane with 2 cups of unfiltered black coffee each morning. Coffee polyphenols actively downregulate hepatic stellate cells, preventing fibrous scar tissue from locking around liver lobes. Remember that late night snacking is kryptonite for hepatic autophagy. Give your liver a 14-hour overnight fasting window so cellular self-cleaning can clear out damaged mitochondrial proteins. When you combine evening fasting with morning resistance training, hepatic glycogen empties rapidly. Your liver shifts into ketogenesis, peeling away stubborn steatosis like peeling skin from an onion. Within 90 days of applying this gut-liver protocol, most patients see elevated liver enzymes normalize completely. Your liver stops just surviving and actively restores your entire metabolic engine. When your doctor says mild fatty liver is just normal aging, show them the science. You hold the absolute power to reverse cellular steatosis and reclaim your health today. Like this video to protect your liver and comment below with your triglyceride ratio. Subscribe right now and watch our deep dive on healing leaky gut next.